So when you see how the mid-cap equities have been performing and how they've actually been affecting the overall bourse, it's interesting to note that we actually saw benzo oil palm gaining over 18%, and this actually pushing through the positivity into the overall market as well.
Yeah, I think you are very right. And this stems from the fact of a very good performance, 2011 year-end performance that they put up. Looking through the numbers, you realize that their revenue grew by about 24% to about 19.4 million Ghana cedis. And they also made a profit after tax of about 9.7 million Ghana cedis. In percentage terms, that was about 266%. And this was actually held by positive prices in crude oil, crude palm oil prices, which rose about 31%. So if you look at the stock, it's actually year to date, it has made about 60%, and that's the top gainer for all the markets this time around. And we believe that with the takeover of Wilmar by in Benz, so they've actually made some positive inroads, embarking on cost-saving measures and also putting up some operational efficiencies.
Hilary, let's just touch on the profit after tax. That increased by 266%. We're starting to see a lot of cost savings coming through and initiatives taken by the company, but average crude palm oil, as you mentioned, is up around 31% compared to the prior year. Are we going to see these kind of levels sustain themselves into 2012, or do you think there could be a bit of disappointment going forward?
No, I think the outlook is positive. I think we're going to see a similar trend in 2012. I think Benzo should be one of the stocks to watch out. It will be in my top 3 stocks to watch out in 2012.
Let's also touch on the latest news also that came through. We saw minimum wages increased by 20%, now sitting at around $2.66. We've also got the MPC meeting that kicked off today. So clearly from a macroeconomic environment, we've got revenues increasing across the board in various divisions of the economy. And then we've also have this expectation that the interest rate is going to remain at around 12.5%.
With that, I think looking at some of the major indicators, looking at inflation figures, which started rising from December, which rose to about 8.58 from 8.55. With a recent increase in petrol prices, I just think that probably there will be a marginal increase in the policy rate. If you look at exchange rate figures, the city lost grounds to the exchange rate, and then inflation is also going up. I think there might be a slight change in the policy rate.
Okay, when you say slight change, what kind of levels are you looking at? It's sitting at 12.5%. Are you expecting a 50 basis point rise?
Exactly, to about 13%.
I mean, we've got fuel prices that increased also that we saw in December. That was up around 15% in December. We saw them reduced by 20% earlier this month. We've got FX pressures, as you mentioned. We've got inflation also ticking up slightly. What about the overall outlook for this year? Is it going to be one of a higher interest rate environment, or do you think it's going to show a bit of stability as we head closer to the end of the year?
I think there will be a stability. I think the government will try, the Bank of Ghana will try to manage the situation and then hold it around these levels. But I don't think there's going to be any sharp rise in interest rates. I think it's going to be around these levels.